The Mesmer in this patch is receiving a few different additions, and also some of the skills have been reworked. And the intention for the Mesmer for this patch, according to the game developer, is trying to apply more pressure on the target enemies. And so when I look at this patch, I see that, you know, they do increase or enhance, should I say, that's more of a correct term, enhance the phantasms for staff, and also for the usage of torch, and also for the scepter. And so that is tailored to the condition damage of the Mesmer, and I don't have a condition damage Mesmer. So when I look at the patch, it was actually quite interesting to see that they decided to buff some of the skill, and subsequently leads to an increase in the efficiency of the condition damage Mesmer. And so, you know, I look at that and I decided just like, hey, let's go and make a condition Mesmer. So let's have a look at the specialization, shall we? So starting off with the dueling, and I have the illusions and the chaos for the last specialization attribute. Now dueling, I have bottom, top, and middle. This one is tailored to the use of pistol. Now, pistol does provide you with the ability to inflict the bleeding condition damage on the target enemy, and this skill, this attribute does provide you with the ability to have the recharge of your pistol skill whenever you successfully interrupt a target. And you know, the chance is only 25%, but it's better than nothing, right? Skill 4 does provide you with the ability to summon a phantasm that can fire the pistol, and that pistol will obviously provide you with the ability to apply additional bleeding stacks from the phantasm as well. So that's really good, and that's why I have this. Now the second attribute I have is the blind. The other two attributes are more tailored to the use of the sword. So I'm using the scepter at the moment, so I don't see the point for me to go with the you know, for these two, so instead I'm just gonna use this one, because whenever I shatter, whenever I shatter my phantasms, I will blind my nearby enemies, and so that's really good, because the attacks incoming to me will be missed. Now for the last one, I have mistrust. So whenever I interrupt a foe, inflict confusions in the area around them. So this one is more like a spreading condition damage to the area around the target enemies, if I successfully, you know, interrupt that enemy. And confusion is really effective against any classes that use a lot of skill. So for example, let's say the elementalist, right? The elementalist is a spell casting class, and so that class does cast a lot of skill. And so whenever they are doing that, if you apply the confusion onto them, the more they cast, the more damage that you would deal onto that target. And so that's really good and very effective against that sort of behavior from the target enemy. And so I highly encourage you know, for you to try and interrupt them as much as possible. Now for the illusions, I'm using top, middle, and bottom. The top one, compounding power, so I gain an increase in damage and condition damage for each of my active illusions. And you know, it makes sense. So the more that I have, the more illusion that I have available, the more damage that I will have, you know, the more increase in damage that I will have. And the next one, Phantasmal Haste. This, my Phantasm will attack more often. And as you can see in here, that I will be summoning a lot of phantasms, and so the more they attack, the more condition damage that they will, condition damage stack that they will inflict on the target enemy. And so that's why I have this. For the last one, I have the sorcery, and I'm using the scepter. So you know, it's just common sense that I go with you know, this attribute that will reduce the recharge of the scepter skill and increase the attack speed. And chaos attribute, chaos specialization. So for the first attribute, I'm using the illusionary defense, reduce the incoming damage to me, because it's survival skill. So the more illusion that I have, the more damage reduction. So at the maximum amount, which is 3, it will reduce 9% of the damage incoming. Next one, I have the chaotic transference. Gain condition damage based on my toughness. So at the moment I have 1000 toughness, and that will increase my condition damage by 10%. And the last one, whenever I shatter a skill, whenever I use a shatter, it will provide me with the stability and also provide me boons and me and my allies boons. So for the first one, I have the ability to provide the might to myself and also to my allies, and might is a good boon because it increases your power and condition damage. Now the next one, vigor, which is endurance regenerations. Obviously the more my regenerations right here, endurance, the more it recharge, the faster it recharge, the more I can dodge. And this one, fury, 20% critical chance. So fury is good because a lot of builds out there would rely on the increase in critical chance to be able to deal extra damage or condition damage to the target enemy. And last one, distortions. This one will provide me with the ability to have the regenerations. But what is good about the distortion is that you have the ability to evade all of the attacks, and at the maximum amount of illusion, which is 3, you have 3 seconds to evade all of the attack. All of the attacks incoming to you. So this is one of the best survival skills that you can have for the Mesmer, and I highly encourage you to take a note of this and then use it according to the situations. And in a lot of events you will be seeing yourself using this quite often, and so familiar yourself with this one. For those of you who don't play Mesmer or just recently getting into this build, then just keep that in mind that you do have the ability to evade all of the attacks from the distortions. Alright, so let's talk about the equipment, shall we? So for the equipment, at the moment I'm using Full Vipers, all of them, Full Vipers, and the Superior Rune of Berserker, because it provides me with the ability to have 5 extra condition damage, and having 5 extra condition damage is always good. The more damage that I have, the more damage that I can inflict on the target enemy. And the next one, the weapons, again I'm using Vipers, and the Sigil is the Superior Sigil of Malice, and the other Sigil is the Superior Sigil of Geomancy. Now I'm using the staff at the moment, but I also do keep with me a torch. I'll get into that in a second. In regard to the trinkets, at the moment I am using 5 pieces of my trinkets, Vipers, and the Amulets, which is Sinisters. I'll be getting onto the condition duration in a second, and why do I have 100% condition durations without using food. So for the weapons, the changes that they have made in this patch, which is tailored to the followings: illusionary counter. Illusionary counter, from reading the patch itself, this skill now evades attack during the counter attack animation, so that's good, more survival skill for you. And whenever you successfully block the next attack, you will summon a phantasm, and that phantasm will apply the torment on the target enemy. So torment, the more they move, the more damage that you would deal to them. So very useful against enemies that keep on moving, because obviously they keep on moving, the more damage you would deal to them. And I already explained about skill 4. You summon a phantasm that will deal that will inflict extra bleeding condition damage to the target enemy. And the skill patch, it was saying that in addition to its previous effect, this skill now fires a slow moving homing bullet that cripples its target. So now you have the ability to deal the soft CC skill as well, so that's really good. And yeah, this one will provide you with the ability to inflict the condition damage in the form of confusion and bleeding, and it will also provide you with the ability to have the CC, right? So make use of that. Now the thing about like the staff for this patch is in regard to the auto attack and the combination of the Warlock Phantasm. Why is that? Now the auto attack Winds of Chaos will bounce an orb enemy energy, bounce an orb of energy between enemies and allies, and that applies random wounds to allies and random conditions to your enemies. And between Fury and Might, you know, doesn't really matter which one you apply first. Both of them are equally good because, like I said, Might increase your condition damage and physical damage, and Fury increase your critical chance. A lot of builds out there rely on the increase in critical chance to deal extra damage. So doesn't really matter that you which one that you apply first. Both of them will help your team one way or the other. Now, the random conditions again doesn't really matter because like bleeding or burning, they are both you know, condition damage that you can apply on the foe, and vulnerability will provide you with the ability to deal extra damage onto the target because now they are weaker. And so this one is really good, especially when you are dealing with a lot of mobs, so you can keep on bouncing your energy around. But what makes this patch, or should I say what makes this combination between the Winds of Chaos and the Warlock so appealing? So I'm just reading off the skill patch right now. So appealing is because the Phantasm Warlock would now have the ability to fire Winds of Chaos projectiles at up to 3 unique targets within a radius of 600 of the caster. So the minute that you summon the Warlock Phantasm, you do have the ability to constantly apply the Winds of Chaos, not only from you but also from your Phantasm as well. So ideally, or technically, if you have more Warlock Phantasms, you can keep on pumping the Fury and the Might to your allies, and also constantly apply the bleeding or burning or vulnerability to your enemies, and that was within the radius of 600 between around you. So that's somewhere around this one. I think I'm just taking a guess right here. So that is very useful when you are doing the meta events, and there are a lot of enemies surrounding you, and so when you're doing that group events with a group, you have the ability to support your own group, but also do have the ability to apply pressure on the target enemies as well, purely on the fact that your Phantasm is now have the ability to keep on bouncing the Wind of Chaos. That's what makes it appealing, and that's why I was really intrigued when I look at the skill patch. And I think that I will be using my staff for my condition Mesmer more when I'm doing the meta events or group events on like, you know, pretty much anything to do with the open map. So you know, when I'm doing the open map like this, I will start using my staff more. The other chances that they have made that I can see that it can be very useful is the torch. Now the torch, you do have the ability to let me just read off from the description because I don't want to, you know, say something that is not intended. So the Mage Phantasm, in addition to its previous effect, this skill now burns nearby foes when activated. So the minute that you activate, you have 2 stacks, and on top of that, your Phantasms does have the ability to burn your nearby foe as well, so it can serve as an AoE, and also you do have the ability to stealth yourself and burn and apply the burning condition damage to the nearby foe. So immediately you have about 5 stacks, and not counting the Mage Phantasm, because it does provide you with the ability to inflict extra burning condition damage. And burning condition damage is one of the strongest condition damage types that you can have in the game. And so subsequently, I can see that having the torch on your offhand can be very useful against a small group of enemy or a single target enemy. And so I think that I will be using my staff when I'm doing the open map, but when I'm facing a single target enemy or a small group of enemy, so for example, if I'm doing the dungeon, then obviously I will be swapping to my torch instead of my staff. So staff, in my personal opinion, at the time of me filming this, I will be only using my staff when I'm doing the open map like this. And for the torch, I will be using that for a specific content, so like dungeon and so on and so forth. So that's it. Let me just swap back to this one. Now, let's talk about utility skill, and then I'll be moving on to the trinket and why do I have the 100% in the confusions, right? Just give me 1 second. So for the utility, I'm using the Signet of the Aether. So heal yourself and refresh all of my Phantasm skill. So as you can see in here, these are all my shatter, and whenever I activate it, I can refresh all of my phantasm skill recharge, so that's good. And this one, Signet of Illusions, there's a variety of them that I swap on a regular basis. So at the moment I'm using the Signet of Illusions because it provides me with the extra health for my phantasms, and also recharge my shatter skill. So these four, if I activate the Signet, it will recharge all of the skills, so I can apply that again. Now let me see what are the changes that I have made. Oh, it's on the secondary. It's on the second utility. Okay, I'll get onto that in a second. So other consideration that I'll be taking, the first one is the no field. And no field, they have made a change. Recharge this skill has been reduced from 32 seconds to 25 seconds. So that means you can pump them out more, and more boons that you can remove from the target enemy, and also remove condition damage on you and on your allies. Feedback is sometimes I consider taking this one as well because it reflects incoming projectiles back to the enemy. And portal, obviously if I want to teleport my entire group to a target location, I can use this. And Phantasmal Defender, the recharge of this skill has been reduced from 25 seconds to 20 seconds according to the patch note. So the Phantasm Defender, this one will apply the protection in the target area, and the protection reduces 33% of the incoming damage. But what makes this skill appealing is because of the illusion of defense. A portion of incoming damage is transferred to the illusionary defender, so it's very useful when you are facing with a lot of mobs. And so having this skill will increase your survivability because a portion of those incoming attacks will transfer to your illusionary defender, and the cooldown is rather fast as well. In the patch note, it's saying that it is 20 seconds, but in here the skill description I have it for 16, so I guess one of my specializations reduce the cooldown for the skill down to 16%, I think. Alright, so for the other utility skill that I'm also taking into consideration as well is the blink. Teleport to the target locations, and also where's the other one that I also taking into consideration as well? I believe I saw somewhere that there is okay, interesting. There is another one that I also got in. When I look at the patch, and I was just I thought to myself, like, perhaps it can have some. Oh, never mind, my bad. This I had a look at the skill from the patch, and it's not for this condition Mesmer. It's actually for Chronomancer. Well, action. Sorry about that. So for condition Mesmer, these 5 skills, these 5 utility skills are the one that I will be swapping on a regular basis. No field. Sorry, 6. No field is the first. Feedback, portal, Phantasmal Defender, blink, and the last one is the Signet of Illusions. And the next one is the Signet of Midnight. Now this one they did make a change, and the change is to let me just look at it. Yeah, the recharge of this skill has been reduced from 30 seconds to 25 seconds. So I don't usually activate this skill because whenever I activate this skill, it will blind my nearby foes, and it does break me out of stun, sure, but I prefer to have the improved in condition durations. And if I need to blind my targets, I can just shadow any of my skills, and that will provide me with the ability to blind my enemies. So I just keep this one on. I prefer to have this one on passive. And the last one, improved condition damage, and it does also provide me with the ability to have CC as well for 3 seconds. So 180 points in condition damage, so that's good. And also even better, the ability to stun my target, which is CC. Now time warp, this has been changed. It is now going to affect 10 people, so that's really nice because now that you can just drop it and 10 people will have the quickness, and quickness is just like skills, and your actions are faster, so they can cast more skill and they can attack faster, and so subsequently more damage to the group. Other the elite skill that I also consider to use is the Signet of Humility, and this one is your hard CC. You transform your foe into a maw, but this if they have a CC bar or defined bar, that will deal 1000 damage immediately straight up onto that defined bar, and that is considered to be one of the best CC in the game. And you know, I from time to time I will be using this, and I have lost count how many times I have to rely on using this Signet of Humility because it is that good to CC the target enemy. So just a quick mention about the Chaos Armor. The reduced recharge to 30 seconds. This skill now applies a random conditions to nearby foes when activated. Previously, whenever you activate this Chaos Armor, you will have the chance to buff yourself with protection or regeneration or swiftness, and the Chaos Armor does last for 5 seconds, so you do have plenty of time to have those buffs, given that if you are facing with a lot of enemies that start to attack you. And now that you have the ability to buff yourself and also apply condition damage to the enemy as well, so that's really good, and I can see that it can be a good options to activate when you are doing the group events, facing with a lot of mobs. Alright, so let's talk about the equipment, shall we, and why do I have the condition duration at 100%. Now, initially when I was making this condition Mesmer, I have no intentions of using any food, condition duration food, when I am doing open map events. To be very clear, I have no intention of using condition damage food when I'm doing the map events like this one. The reason for that is because I do not see myself will get benefit from using the condition duration food in the group events, in the open map group events. I prefer to use this one, Magic Find. Like this one is utility, but I also do have another food that can increase my Magic Find from the food as well. I prefer to have that because Magic Find increase my chance to get the rare items, and rare items is more money for me. And that is the reason why I do not have the intention to use the condition damage increase from the food. So I make it up by having the condition duration at exactly 100%. That is my preference. Now, however, if I decided to bring my Mesmer to tier 4 factor, or to bring her into raiding, then I will, what I will do is to replace all of my trinkets. Where is it? It's to replace all of my trinkets with Vipers. Sorry, not Vipers, Sinisters. And when I'm doing like tier 4 or raid, I will be fighting against small group of enemies, and most of the time will be a single target boss. If that was that is the case, so I swap to Torch. Why is not swapping to Torch? At the moment, you still see that, oh, it's not this one, where's the other one? This is full Sinister. Alright, so at the moment you see that I have confusions at 80%. If I use the food, if I use high-end food like the toxic crystal, that is 10% increase in my condition durations. The high-end pizza, which will give me another 20%, so that's 30%. So I need to reduce the number down to 70%, then use the food to not overcapping. Alright, so if that was to be the case, I swap the scepter out. I don't use the superior sigil of Malice. Instead, I will replace this one with the superior sigil of Earth. And eliminating 10% increase in your condition duration will reduce this one down to 70%. Confusion down to 70%. So obviously you have a 0.73%, but that is acceptable, right? And now when you use the 30% increase from your toxics and from your pizza, high-end one, you will get exactly 100%, well, not exactly, but you get what I mean, 100% increase in your condition durations from the confusions. That is my intention. If I decided to bring my Mesmer to high-end content, right, or tier 4 fractal, that is the figure that I'm aiming for. 70% in confusions, use the toxics and the high-end pizza to buff it up to 100%, and eliminate this one, eliminate the Malice Sigil, replace that with the Earth, and have the torch with Sinister stats, not Vipers. So again, let me summarize. If I decided to do high-end content, I will replace the staff with the torch using Sinister stats, replace the Sigil of Malice with the superior Sigil of Earth, replace my entire Trinket with Sinisters, and then use the toxics and the high-end pizza food. That will give me 100% exactly, and not overcapping additional stats. And as you can see in here, that my condition damage is increasing, roughly about 100 points, so that's really good. So that was my intentions. So at the moment I haven't done my dailies yet, so that's what I'm going to do, just doing the open map events using my Mesmer. And so when I do that, I prefer to have the Vipers, but it's just my preference, and I can adapt my Mesmer to full Sinisters whenever I need to do the high-end content and in the need of using the food. But again, like I said, I don't see it would justify. Where's the this one. I don't see it would justify the cost of using high-end food to do the open map group events. I don't see the point in doing that. I prefer to have increasing my magic find to have extra loots. So that's just my preference. So if you want to use food when doing the open map, feel free to do so. I'm not forcing you to play the way I'm playing. I'm just giving you the reason why I decided to go with that. And so yeah, it's entirely up to you. Feel free to do whatever you feel comfortable with. Okay, so that's it for me for the what do you call it, the justification why I'm not using food when I'm doing why I'm not using any condition duration food when I'm doing the open map events. So let's move on to the budget option, and I will finish this video off. Now for the budget option, I recommend you to go with the Rabid set, which is precision, toughness, and condition damage. And the reason for that is because under the Chaos Specialization, in the second attribute, the trait Chaotix Transference, which will give you the ability to have extra condition damage based on your toughness. So the more toughness that you have, the more condition damage that you have. So it makes sense, right? Rabid set, you have more toughness, and that trait will give you extra condition damage. Now for the rune, I highly recommend you to go with the superior rune of the Undead, because the rune of the Undead provides you with condition damage and also increase in your toughness. So not only survival skill, but also condition damage as well. And it does provide you with the ability to transfer 7% of your toughness is converted into your condition damage. And so having extra toughness, and that combined with the Chaotix Transference, it does provide a good condition damage increase for your Mesmer if you're on the budget options. For the weapons, you can use the Rabid options, but if you want to go with the Rampagers, then feel free to go with that one as well. For the Sigil, I highly recommend you, it depends on the weapon. So if you decided to go with your staff and your secondary weapon set, then I highly recommend you to go with the Sigil of Corruptions, Sigil of Geomancy, like the one that I have. But if you decide to go with secondary weapon set to be your torch, then I highly recommend you to go with superior Sigil of Balthazar, because that increases your burning condition duration. Now for the scepter and the pistol, superior Sigil of Earth and superior Sigil of Geomancy, because you'll be swapping, as part of your rotation, you'll be swapping two of your weapon set on a regular basis, and so whenever you swap, you will be dealing the bleeding to the nearby foes for 10 seconds, so that's good. And the reason why I'm recommending superior Sigil of Earth is because at 60% chance on critical hit, you inflict extra bleeding stack on the target enemies. So that's something that I recommend you to go for. But again, if you have any other sigils that you want to put in, feel free to go do whatever you see fit. Alright, so that's it from me. I hope it has some use to you, and I'm actually, I'm actually quite impressed with the changes that they have made for the Mesmer in this patch, and I'm looking forward to see more Mesmer using condition damage, because obviously it's fun to play. And so again, if you have any question for me, as always, if you have any question for me, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. Enjoy, have fun, I'll see you later.